Gerardo Cassini, United Nations. I just wanted to mention that we had a meeting with parliamentarians in May in Geneva. In fact, the issue of child abuse images on the internet, as you said, is a shared concern. But the concern from many parliamentarians, and I think you also underlined this point, is that the legal instruments are not there, but there is a need to, let's say, share even the legal instruments. There is a problem of capacity in many countries, and to be even exposed, and in many parliaments, to be exposed to other legislation, existing legislation, which is a normal way of doing. When we prepare documents, many times we cut and paste, and in legislation this can happen actually across countries. So I think there must be an effort in really building capacities on how to legislate and what kind of legislation is needed from either from parliament or government. So you said it already, but I want just to share this this concern that was mentioned to us in this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm Chong-Hee Kim from Republic of Korea, and I'm intern at ITU. I want to special thank you for ITU and Diplo for supporting I'm here. Actually, I have two questions for speakers. Maybe it's quite a little bit specific questions. We were talking about child abuse images, and we are talking about how difficult each country has different laws and policies against the child pornography. I want to ask you about virtual child pornography. I know some countries that virtual child pornography is just contents, illegal contents. So how about EU? The EU support virtual child pornography as illegal contents or legal contents? And then what is the policy or strategy plan against the child abuse, virtual child abuse graphic? And then my second question is for Mr. Ka. Among your speeches, you mentioned that in UK you have a list, and then normal peoples cannot access the list, which is served by the illegal child abuse images. But that means the website, if the website provides illegal contents, that means the website itself is illegal. Yeah. So. What does that mean? I cannot understand. So people cannot, if people cannot access the website, and then the website is illegal anyway. Yeah. What that means. So I mean, okay. I got it. The reason why I ask you is because the service provider, internet service provider or content provider can change the contents very easily. Yeah. So that's my question. Thank you.
I'll deal with the second point first because it's. Obviously my fault for not being clearer. There's almost zero child pornography, child abuse images, child pornography published on websites in the United Kingdom. Almost every single one is overseas. And so what happens is that the IWF identifies it as an illegal website under English law, under UK law, and it notifies the police force in the country concerned where it's identified it, but it's then up to the police force in that country to act to remove it, because obviously the IWF, which is simply a British institution, cannot send a notice to a Polish or an American or a Mexican ISP saying please remove this illegal website. It communicates directly with the police in that country. Now the problem is that the police forces in many of these different countries don't act very quickly to get the site taken down, or don't do anything at all. So the blocking list simply is a list of the web addresses, irrespective of which country they're in. None of them are in Britain. I mean, we don't need to block access to illegal websites in Britain, because if any were identified, they would be gone within 60 minutes. The list is entirely of websites which are overseas, which are outside of the UK, over which therefore we have no direct control. Now, it's another aspect of the problem, in other words, because we've identified them as illegal websites, we've identified them as containing illegal material, but the police forces in the countries where these sites exist can vary hugely in the length of time it takes them to get it removed. I mean, there's been at least one website which 12 months after we notified the police in that country that it existed, it is still up and it is still visible 12 months later. Your first question, I'll just say something briefly, I don't know if Dieter's going to speak on it as well. There are a number of countries where it is, virtual child pornography is not illegal. The United States is the most important one where it is not illegal. The decision, there was a case that went to the United States Supreme Court, so it's going to be quite difficult to get this decision changed. It will require, I think, the Supreme Court to reverse itself, and I hope it will. But it was Ashcroft and the ACLU about 5 years ago. And essentially what the Supreme Court said was, unless the image shows actual illegal acts being performed on actual children, no crime has been committed. Or to put it another way, the basis on which an image is illegal under US federal law is that it depicts actual harm being done to an actual child. Now, just to be clear, under US law, you could still be prosecuted under the obscenity laws, but the standard and the test for a conviction under the obscenity laws is obviously harder to establish than it is if it's simply a child pornography offence. Normally, in most jurisdictions, child pornography is illegal irrespective of any particular test of community standards or whatever, which is what you have to apply in obscenity cases. So this was a very bad result because and it's had a bad impact on the extent to which the police in different countries can cooperate. In the United Kingdom and in most other countries, we make no distinction between virtual child pornography and actual child pornography. If it looks like child pornography, we treat it as if it were child pornography, and it's not necessary for us to establish whether it is virtual or real. Now, the defence, if a person is accused of possessing it, the defence can prove in court that it is virtual child pornography rather than real child pornography. And under the sentencing guidelines, what that means is that the sentence that you would have received is stepped down by one notch. We grade child pornography in 5 different categories. So if you're found with level 5, that's the highest level of images, that's the worst kind of image, and they're all virtual rather than real ones, you will be sentenced as if you were in possession of level 4. If you're caught with level 3 and they're all virtual, you'll be sentenced as if it was level 2, and so on and so forth. But you know, when these guys go looking for the images, they don't sort of sit down and say to themselves, I won't download that image because it's a real one. I will download this image because it's a virtual one. You know, to the guys who are interested in child pornography, the distinction between virtual and real is completely meaningless. They just get any images which depict child sex abuse. And I think, therefore, the impact and effect of the images is identical. Let's be clear, by the way, that for an image to be classified as being virtual child pornography, it has to be essentially indistinguishable from a real image. If it was a cartoon or if it was a drawing, that wouldn't count. Virtual child pornography means it's a photographic image or an image of photographic quality depicting child sexual abuse activity. So I think the distinction is wholly bogus, wholly wrong, and the sooner that can be eliminated from legal systems around the world, the better.
Thank you. Dieter, you want to say a few words?
I believe in the European Union right now there's a discussion going on actually including definitions of virtual child sexual abusive material to become illegal. But right now there's no instrument as such, and as John's mentioned, having the US not being in favor of defining virtual pornography or virtual child abuse images as being illegal, it makes it a big difference. I can mention Japan has taken action on this, and I believe right now, I think 1st of December, 1st November, or very recent, I think they passed a law that basically condemns virtual child sexual abuse material.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I want just to add a little note on this, and I mean, this is another example on where we really need to go for something a little bit more harmonized. I mean, we really need to get, let's say, the different communities, specifically the different countries, adopting common principles that can be used, I mean, as, let's say, a possible modelization of the legal requirements that are necessary to address specification. I mean, this is something that has been around since several years, and maybe now, I mean, with all these other elements specifically on child online protection that are emerging, I mean, there is really a need to try to have this global movement toward a little bit more harmonized approach. As I mentioned, there are lots of, we are going to hear from Adam, there are several different regional frameworks that are in place. There are very, very good national laws, but since now cybercrime is transnational, I mean, it's cross-cutting, it's cross-border, I mean, you can really define, I mean, where is the limit, I mean, what is the line, you know, between one country and another. And again, this is something that I strongly believe the international community has to address, specifically United Nations, because I mean, just within this, let's say, kind of a consensus building process, I mean, we may be able to address properly. So